be thorough with your protocol, right? Because sometime it may happen that, again, same example is given here. Collecting too much data can be problematic, right? Redundancy. We don't need the data which is not being analyzed. As volume increase, quality can be compromised. This is very true, and it's a fact, right? When you have more volume, there could be quality breach or weak compromise with the quality. In practice, large chunk of data concerning, for example, clinical care or administrative issue are not needed as a part of the database trial. So, like, these are some guidelines during given into the data entry, because what happens sometimes, site coordinator perform the data entry. Okay, if they have their own system, so they should know what type of data needs to be collected on the CRF and what type of data from CRF to the system. Yeah, usually what happen on the paper-based CRF, since it is handwritten, right? So sometime investigator, they might write something outside of the field. Okay, so we need to make sure that those kind of comment should not be entered into the database, because those are not relevant. They might add something like, please give something like, please bandage this site, at this time, something very administrative. So we don't have to enter such data into the database. Data management process in clinical trials starts with development of the trial specific CRF. So we already have seen this part yesterday, right? So what needs to be done during the CRF designing. It is important that all data is recorded directly on the forms in the time of measurement to minimize the possibility of notes to lose. So basically, it talks about, at the site, data should be provided on the CRF real time, moreover, because there might be the case that, they might lose data if they misplace the source data, like source node. So to avoid such thing, they should first provide the data on the CRF. All subsequent changes to both paper and electronic data should be done in manner enabling identification of primary value, correct data, date of change, and a person who made the changes. Very straightforward. Data recording refers to transcribing the information into or onto the CRF from the source node. And such forms are used to be created on paper, but nowadays we use EDC, right? So in earlier days, what happened, sometime like, when site was not following the guidelines, they used to enter data directly on the CRF instead of having their source node, right? But that's incorrect process. First, they should have their original document, original values, and then from that source node or source data, they should report it on the CRF. Okay. Data entry refers to various model of entering the information into the EDC or computer system. It may take a form of direct computer entry by person transferring data from paper-based CRF into the computer database, or you have EDC. So there is we have seen three type of databases, right? One is completely offline, right, which we don't use. We have remote data capture, right, wherein site may have their own software. They will have their own server, or maybe data is stored into their computer. They do the data entry in the database, and then they save it into their computer, and then it can be uploaded. Yeah. The third thing, what we currently use is EDC system, right? Online system, wherein we enter data directly into the eCRF. So for paper CRF, they might use database, which is online or offline. Mostly online. Yeah. Sometimes it's like a software installed into your system. Yeah. Information can be entered locally at site, same thing. or centrally upon collection of CRF from all study site or in ETC. The choices depending upon the available resources, clinical trial size, and each of the option which has an advantage. So for example, if it's a very small study like cosmetic study or observational study, sponsor will not spend a lot of money on EDC, okay, because it's very expensive. They might, ask CRO to, make this study as, low cost as you can. So they might use paper CRF, print it, have database like Oracle Clinical or even other system, add um, events into it, and make the database available and do data entry and do further data management activities. So it's very cost effective depending upon the sponsor's requirement. But if it's an oncology study or a transplantation study or very big studies, then they won't go with the paper CRF, right? Because we need a huge data. So your system should be able to handle such data. Okay. And again, depending upon the system requirements, when how quick it is, do we expect any error out of it, what is the storage, how much data can be storage, will there be audit trail, right? So all technical things will be given into the agreement with the sponsor. Now in the data entry guideline, as I said, we will also provide some information like login ID and password, how to how we will show how the database looks like when you enter the login ID and password, or also, we also called it as credentials, right? Then what will you see? You will see here your profile. You can go through it. There will be e-learning inside. You need to go through it, and then you get the access to your study. So some system specific information, right? Then you have general information. So now in the data entry guideline, you might see so many similarities than the CCG, like ECRF completion guideline, but that's for the online system. This is for offline, right? Sometimes they might have the similar things. Okay. So general information could be given like date, time, how to enter the data, and all other things. Yeah. So here, adverse event information is given. So all adverse event or serious and non-serious will be collected from the time the subject signed the informed consent through this. So this is very protocol specific, generic information, right? From which date they want to collect the data as a adverse event. Some protocol says that adverse event should be collected after the randomization or after the first dose of IP. Okay. And if patient has signed the informed consent from that day till first dose of IP, if anything happen, they might collect data in different way. Though it is not a medical history, but they can consider it as adverse event, but within that time they might call it in a different way. So I have seen this scenario. Okay. But mostly the case is, since patient has signed the informed consent, everything should be adverse event. Okay. So this particular protocol says about this, and we need to give information from the protocol. Okay. This is very protocol specific. Now, subject numbering. When you enter the data into the system, you should know how the subject numbering refers to. So first few digit, it may be 4-digit or 3-digit will be site number, and 2-digit or 3-digit will be subject number, and combined it will be patient number. While performing data entry, you should know this thing. So we will provide this information into data entry guideline. Yeah, this is again project specific. So you need to understand what is the requirement from the operation point of view. Like you will also have a monitoring plan, right? Or a randomization plan. You will go through it, how they are going to randomize, what is the patient number consist of, how many digits we expect, because same thing you will also enroll into your database, right? For example, while tracking, CRF tracking, you will see, okay, patient number is, XYZ plus XYZ, like, numbers, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First three digits are maybe site number. Yeah? So you need to understand how the subject numbering is. Though it's a screen failure patient or a randomized patient or all completed patient, they will be having the same thing. Then again, complete form in English language, of course, because um, different country may have different keyboards. Like currently, I'm living in Germany. I have a German keyboard, okay, but I have converted it into English. You might not know, from which uh, site you are collecting the data, right? Because in the initial days, there will be discussion going on while doing the feasibility of the site. If sponsor want to have a global site, or maybe even two sites, one in India, one in maybe any European country, or even in some south part of the Asia, or maybe in Africa or America, you need to know which type of data we may expect, like in terms of the language, right? So we need to make sure that we give them instruction that please write everything in English, okay, on the CRF also, like, and in the system also. Then avoiding abbreviation, acronyms, and all those things, avoiding special character. Do you know why we avoid special characters entering into the system, like percentage or plus, minus, equal to, hash, pound? Any idea? Or even star? Why we avoid entering this special character? Anyone? Any idea, like any logic? Say, for example, you have different neutrophil count. Okay, like we have a differential leukocyte count in which you have neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil, right? So I assume you all are from biology background, right? So these are the cells, and if you have neutrophil like 70% neutrophil, and what if they enter data 70 and percentage value? What may happen? Any logic? Did you understand the question?
Yes, I understood the question, but I'm not sure why do we avoid using percent. Maybe because it converts it.
Exactly. Correct.
Okay.
Because when you enter something in the database is what? It's like, artificially we have made that software, right? If we give command to the database, they follows. So this is command or the calculations, right? So for example, if you enter 70%, then it may calculate something else in background. What is 70% of something on that form? Value could be changed, right? So we need to avoid such thing which may calculate something, right? So avoid special character always. Even if you may see same data while performing the data entry, but at the back end, when you pull the report from the database, you might see different value, or maybe it look very weird, like weird in the sense there will be a lot of special character given into the uh, report along with the actual data or maybe converted data. So we need to usually avoid it. Yeah. Then avoid using punctuation, using ditto or same as above, period, like full stop, right? Then numeric value should be entered instead of spelling. Like, wherever we need numeric, they should enter the data as numeric, right? Then date format, of course. We saw this yesterday, date, time format. If a blank form is created in error, please contact data management to inactivate the form. So same thing, like, if they are doing data entry at the site, they can contact data management department, or if it is done by the data management itself, then they themselves can inactivate the form if by mistake they have created it. Then again, same thing for adverse event, conmed, and medication. If they add these form by mistake, they can inactivate and they can reactivate it. For example, if you have received adverse event form later, you can go back, inactivate the form, and add the information again. Yeah. Do not enter extraneous data into the data field unless it helps to clarify the data point and is not captured elsewhere. So again, same thing. You have a particular field for a particular question, right? And if you receive data on the paper CRF, extraneous means handwritten somewhere else, then please do not capture it. Please read it, what it is talking about, basically. Sometimes what happen, on the CRF, if there is a out of range value, maybe best example could be blood sugar value, right? If it is like 180 grams per deciliter or mg, whatever the unit is, okay? If it is 180 and our normal value is between 70 to 100, then they might write, diabetic patient on the form itself, because when you enter data and while, saving the form, you will get the discrepancy, right? You just have to save it, okay, during the data entry, but you cannot provide any reason inside it. But during the discrepancy management, you will see, okay, so it has given the clarification that patient is diabetic. You will also go back to the medical history and check if it is correct, and if everything is matching, then you can close that discrepancy by providing this reason that patient is diabetic. So this is very helpful. If it is not helpful, like it's just an instruction or something else, just avoid it. Don't enter it into the database at all, because we don't have field for that. Then we need to ensure the value for text field. Usually, if something they provided into other specified field, like if there is an option like maybe route, for example, we have predefined route, but they have something else other than what we have predefined. They can select other specify, and then they need to provide the data. So we need to copy exact data into the CRF. So here is a trick. The most important thing is, while performing data entry on the basis of CRF, you will not do discrepancy management. You need to enter data exactly same what is given in the CRF, though it is discrepant data or anything else. Add as it is. Even for example, for numeric value field, they have written like alphabetic. Being a data entry person, you don't have to change it. You have to enter the data exactly same what is given on the CRF, because all other thing will be taken care during the discrepancy management. Okay. If field is missing, keep it missing. Then there could be some things wherein you may have to do something, like we have document called SEC, self-evident correction document, okay, wherein you may do the changes. Not what type of changes, I will show you. For example, okay, so this is EDC, but consider this is offline database, and you have received CRF data from hemoglobin to all the fields. Everything is given, okay, even date is given here, but they missed to answer this question. Yeah, was the laboratory hematology sample collected? This question is missing, but you have date of sample collected. You also have all those information, because it's a paper CRF, right? You don't have functionality on the paper CRF. They have handwritten thing. What will you do with this question? You have all other details. What will you do with this question? What do you expect with this question? What common sense we will use?
Sir, we have to
Pardon?
mention. Sir, we have to mention the sample.